Sped's a good friend of mine. He actually joined my stream when I first, one of the first kind of like when I first started doing tournaments for CODM. I wasn't huge into CODM yet, and I remember there was this. If you guys know who Resume is, he joined off of I can't remember that kid's name. Who was that kid's name, bro? Do you remember? The guy that invited Resume. Torpedo, yeah. Torpedo joined, and he was from like Africa, so his ping was just really, really bad. And he also added, I mean, dude, it was like the worst players in the world. Like, I'd never played CODM. I had a small community. I think Josh Rainey was on, like, he's one of my best friends, and he joined, or we decided to do like a small tournament for like $5. I didn't think anybody was gonna sweat over $5. This dude brings Resume like a professional mobile mayhem at the time, and then off of that, obviously Resume won the tournament easily. Sped was there, and Sped, you were on Resume stream, and then you decided to join the tournament. He came to my stream asking. I'm not gonna lie, when he first joined my stream, he was kept asking if he could join. I was like, no, like I don't even know who you are. But at the end, a lot of people left, obviously, because Resume was destroying. So Sped just joined a random team, and they were just kind of messing around. I remember you guys were doing like snipers only, right? At the end.
Yeah, I remember Resume was helping out Torpedo because Torpedo said he really wanted the money, and Resume was like, "Please don't sweat." And just let me get
I do remember that. I was like, bro, Torpedo needs $5. Like, is that important?
Got a family to feed.
Yeah, $5, man. I can get you McDonald's, maybe for one person. You can get 5 burgers, but you need the tax money. All right, so. Sped, first tell us who you played for and what your role was when you were in Mobile Mayhem, because like obviously not a lot of people know, especially in the controller side. I don't know if a lot of people know what Mobile Mayhem is. Mobile Mayhem's like a big tournament for Call of Duty Mobile. It's hosted by Bobby Plays, I think, right? Or I don't know who it's hosted by, but yeah. But Spec, can you tell us like who you played for and what your role was on the team?
Well, my first comp teams were absolutely awful randoms that were nobodies, and it took a long time before I found it. And in Discord, they have different ways to apply for teams, and I was applying for everywhere to just try to play in scrims. Eventually, found a team named Phantom Mob. At the time, they were known for trick shotting and editing. And from there, it sort of just grew. They had some decent players, and we would actually get people would deny us, would say no to scrimming us because they would say that they're not going to scrim a team full of trick shotters. Anyway, so it took a while for us to build our name. Eventually, we got into top tier AN Amateur Network. At the time was a pretty proficient feature to put on a team, especially being top tier, and worked our way up through bottom tier, mid tier, and high tier. After that, Phantom Mob disbanded because our manager Houdini nuked the Amateur Network server.
I remember that. That was so funny. And shout out to Ginger. Shout out to Ginger who tried playing on the team.
I miss Ginger.
That was so funny, bro. Oh man, this man was so excited to be on that team.
It lasted a good 2.5, 3 days.
We kind of just messed around with Ginger about that. I forget what the team was. What was the team called? It was like Phantom Mob something, wasn't it?
Phantom Solus or something? I don't know.
Yeah, it was something funny, but it was like their second team. It didn't go too well. Let's just say that.
It did not.
Yeah.
Anyways, Phantom lasted as long as Houdini let it last, and then at the end of that, it sort of just disbanded, and I just looked for a new team. I messaged a guy named Scott, who at the time I knew was really good. I had played him a lot in scrims. Like, we would scrim his team all the time. Messaged him about finding a tryout because he needed one more player. And I knew he had a good team. Eventually, just joined his team and worked from there, and joined Mobile Mayhem through their qualifiers. They have a qualifiers network. Actually, we didn't make qualifiers, which is kind of a funny story. There was 2 different rule sets that were in place while qualifiers were happening, and one of them was anything is allowed, and the other one is almost nothing is allowed. And we had been practicing the new rule set, which is very restricted and a lot more talent based. But the other team had been practicing the old rule set, and they asked us which one we wanted to do. And if we had disagreed, we had to do the old rule set. Anyway, so we ended up having to do the old rule set and actually didn't make qualifiers. We actually didn't make it into Mobile Mayhem. But one of the teams dropped out, and Bobby Plays and Zim is the other co-host, owner of Mobile Mayhem, invited our team to Mobile Mayhem. And that's actually how we ended up in it.
Okay, so that basically answers my next question. It was how do you play in Mobile Mayhem? But it was like, so there's qualifiers, but to get into qualifiers, how do you get in there?
Yeah, there's some preliminary tournaments, and you do have to get noticed. You can basically sign up if you have a team, but there's multiple rounds to each set of qualifiers and preliminary sort of small tournament, point-based tournaments. Each one just, moving up a little bit closer, and then at the end. So in Mobile Mayhem, there's a total of 8 teams. The bottom 4 are put up on the chopping block, and have to fight for the spot again. The top 4 get to keep the spot for the next season. So the bottom 4 teams will fight any incoming teams from whatever you call it.
And it's like really hard to get into Mobile Mayhem, right? Because like I remember, was it like Tribe? Like even though they qualified the first, like I think the first qualifiers, they can still play the next time, right? Like you can keep playing as practice, can't you?
Right. Yeah, you can. I mean, it used to be really, really tough, but as of right now, as far as I know, Mobile Mayhem has sort of taken a little bit of a decline just in terms of how many people, just because so many people have quit the game, that the saturation on level of teams, especially Mobile Mayhem with champs around the corner, or champs actually back around the corner. So a lot of teams disbanded, or a lot of teams switched to go play champs instead of Mobile Mayhem. And a lot of other filler, I guess I'd call them filler teams, pulled up as of now.
Yeah, because I mean, I had a community for COD Mobile. I remember we were grinding like every day. It was like 6-hour streams every day of this COD Mobile. And I mean, personally, I even got tired of the game, and it was just like the game to me just kind of got boring. And I could tell others got bored of the game too, so we kind of stopped playing for a while. And we just recently came back. It's I feel like it's more fun to play when you're playing with friends, but personally, when you play by yourself, it's just not the same anymore. Like, it's just boring. But that's just how I feel, and I'm sure that's how a lot of people felt. So that's why people... Zero has a good question. He said, how did Sped get noticed?
I think Phantom Mob was where I started to take it a lot more serious. Phantom Mob definitely was the big one. We were actually pretty well known in the community. We weren't one of the best teams in the world, but the best teams in the world knew of us.
Yeah.
And I guess that's the best way to put it. And it just turns into fragging out. Like, I remember in Phantom Mob, there used to be in old comp rules and in old sets and stuff, there would be different roles, as in like a Slayer role or an Anchor role. And each of us would play sort of a different one, or an objective role. I remember Resume was the Slayer role, and Resume would get noticed a lot because he would have the most kills a lot of the time. But you notice there that he wouldn't have like any OBJ. So he would get noticed a lot, and a lot of us, the bottom 3, I was sort of in the middle of the pack. But I did start to get noticed as he started to take it less and less serious. Resume did, and as he started to take it less and less serious, I started trying to step up to play both the OBJ role and the Slayer role, and I guess picked up a little bit from there.
Yeah, I remember he left your team for like a while at the end, didn't he?
Right. Yeah. He got frustrated with where we were at in terms of comp, and it was really hard to get. We were trying to get our foot in the door, and it was really tough to do that, and he was getting frustrated with that and was mistakenly blaming it on everyone except himself. He's fixed it since then, and he's in a much better place. I think he's a lot happier now where he's at. But anyway, he was switching back and forth between teams trying to find the right spot. I think Phantom Mob really for all of us was where it was at. Like that was the best days of competitive, at least for me. I've asked him. It was the same for him. Like he misses those days.
Yeah.
So I think leaving. I think he definitely regretted leaving.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I can see your point. I mean, as like a streamer, content creator, I felt like it was a lot more fun back then than it is now. It's just not as fun as it is. And like the Discord servers you like showed me, it just doesn't seem as active either. So, but all right. So once you made Mobile Mayhem, how are you treated? Like, how did Bobby Plays and all those people treat you? Because like obviously it's a big tournament. They would get, when I was watching, they were getting like thousands of views. So obviously it's a pretty big like place to be playing in Mobile Mayhem. So like, how did they treat you? Did they treat you like professionals? Like
Right. Yeah, I mean, Bobby Plays. Day Namen is the other co-host. Zim and Bobby own Mobile Mayhem, and Day Namen is one of the casters. Anyway, Bobby and Day Namen were always pretty respectful and not one-sided either way. But I would say the chat and most of the other competitive players, I would say the top dogs, were extremely disrespectful. Like extremely, and this is something that like goes for like a long time. Like they for sure were like we were obviously the bottom of the pack. We were eighth place the whole, like we barely got any points the whole season. Every team, and we would come really close, but every single team um beat us. And it was extremely toxic, and the part of it that I never understood, for example, one of the teams we played against was named Nova, and they were crazy good. They were insanely good, and they would talk smack to us before the game and in between games as if we weren't the eighth team just trying to get a couple points on the board. um, so I would say like in terms of like the other competitive players, like they're very definitely not professional at all. No.
So yeah, so like the no Nova Core, yes sir. No, it wasn't Nova Core. It's some other Nova team.
One example I'm thinking of really quick, we were playing I can't remember the team name. Was it Cygnus?
Oh
I
yeah,
think
yeah, yeah. I
it
remember
was
them.
maybe Cygnus. We were playing in Mobile Mayhem, and this was one of our last series matchups, and they prolonged. It was a hard point match on Summit, and I remember that very distinctly. They prolonged the game because we were getting spawn trapped, and they prolonged the game to try to get one of their players a really high kill game, and because of that, they got DQ'd. They were so like unsportsmanlike that they actually got DQ'd and gave us granted us the points.
Oh, so they just DQ'd you that game.
They DQ'd them the whole series.
Oh, okay, okay, yeah. Um, so like off of Mobile Mayhem, like, how much did you make any money or anything like that, like from
I
just
didn't
playing?
make any money from Mobile Mayhem, no, but I was a streamer at the time, and Mobile Mayhem definitely was a big factor in a lot of my streams and a lot of preparation. We did tons and tons and tons of scrims. And so people would see my name. I mean, there's anywhere between 8 and I'd say 17, 18,000 people watching Mobile Mayhem at any given time. So there's a lot of people, so when someone's watching a game, they'll see the names and look up, and I have Trovo in my name because I used to stream on Trovo, and so
Hmm.
uh, social networking would start to pull people in.
Yeah, yeah. So I know that I don't know if I'm sure a lot of people from COD Mobile know about Trovo. Trovo is where like most of the COD Mobile people stream, and it's a lot of mobile games I would say on there. They do have other games. It's kind of like an off-brand Twitch, but they obviously don't get as many viewers. But the thing I like about Trovo is they care about that small community, and they do a lot of events, especially for CODM. So if you guys are interested in Trovo, you can look up Sped, but Sped, he did retire from COD Mobile. I think he retired from streaming, right? Are you done streaming? Or are you ever gonna come back?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. At this point, it's it's a really tough decision because my community was made off of hosting tournaments
Yeah.
and not off of my. I mean, there's a small part of it, but it wasn't consistent enough for me to put that much time and effort into it. So probably done.
Would you ever consider streaming anywhere else or no?
In terms of platforms,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I'd be fine. I used to stream on YouTube for Rules of Survival.
Yeah.
And
I've seen those videos.
yeah, then uh, what was that old thing called? Omelet Arcade, I think it's
Oh
called.
yeah, yeah. On the arcade, you can stream on multiple platforms and it's free, or you can pay and like you get a bunch of stuff from it. But it's for people who don't have like a PC or a console to stream off of. Honestly, I would consider streaming off of like a mobile device instead of your console. It's just a lot better because you're not like the console is just like you need the Ethernet cord. I don't know a lot of people don't even have that, but on a mobile device it's not as hard. But Zero said, "Why did you retire from CODM?"
I mean, that's a good question because I mean, it was going pretty well. I retired. I mean, a big part of why I retired is moving to school, starting college, getting a job, having to start paying more bills, was a big part of it. COD Mobile took up an enormous part of my life, an enormous percentage, um, uh, definitely an unhealthy percentage of my life, and I think it still does for a lot of people. You know, I'm like I like watch YouTubers and stuff, you know, and if they're making money, you know, that's good. But for people that are in competitive, that are letting that take up such a massive portion of their life in such a critical stage in their life, like in the 16 to 18 range, when you should be like starting to prepare for getting jobs and getting this and getting that, and none of that is happening because of a game that isn't taking off, that's when it like really hit me. And I had to make a really tough decision because I mean I love the game. I loved playing competitive, but it was like taking out of family time, it was taking out of friend time. I wasn't seeing my family or my parents very much. You know, I like was barely scraping by trying to get homework done after at you know at 4 or 5 a.m. or you know while while it's being collected in high school. So it was tough. So I definitely had to find the I guess just find the right choice for me.
Yeah, and yeah, I totally get that. I mean, like personally, I would also host a little bit of tournaments, and you know, it kind of took a lot out of me. Just because, like, man, people would sweat for like $1 or two. You know, like it was insane, and it was just like, man, like $1 or two, like it's not gonna do much in your life. Like, you should really focus on other things. And it's like, it was the same people just like coming back for just $1 or $2, and it was just like, you know, I understand a couple $100 maybe, but for you to be streaming, you know, or playing this game for that long, it's just like it's like unless you're making a living off of it. And I've seen, you know, like I don't want to shout anybody out or expose people, but people will stream the game for like 24 hours a day, and it's like, man, like it's insane. And even them, it's like you could be doing something more useful.
There's no way that that's a living.
Yeah, like there's no, you know, it's a great game. There's certain people, you know, that make livings off of this. You know, like Bobby Plays, Ferg, all those people. But the chances of you becoming that big are really, really slim. I barely like I do this. I kind of just do this for fun. I don't take it as serious anymore. Like we stream and play other games now, but we play a little bit of CODM just for fun. And I don't get paid that much, like not nearly enough to be a content creator and do it as a living. But that's just how people are in COD Mobile. But for another question, back to Mobile Mayhem, what was your team like for Mobile Mayhem?
We had a really funny chemistry for our team. It was definitely a wide range. Our team leader Scott, he's a D1 athlete for track and field at a college, and then our youngest player was a 9-year-old kid from like Alabama or something, and so the range of spectrum of our team was definitely colorful to say the least. And our comms, there was a moment in Mobile Mayhem where they like listened into our comms, and it was probably the most embarrassing time that they could have listened into our comms because it was absolutely chaotic. I mean, we did start to get it together, and organize it a lot more. But yeah, it was a very large range between all of us.
Did you have like, I know you had beef with other teams, like you know how they were
Oh,
talking trash and like you know at halftime and stuff. But did you have any beef or like you didn't like anyone from your team? Anybody?
no, I had pretty good relations with everyone on my team. Like we all worked out. You know, we all talk shit to each other from time to time. But it's definitely on the side of just
Like friendly, like everybody,
banter.
like all the friends, like something like friends that do that type of stuff. You know, they kind of,
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly.
All right. So, what was your favorite moment of Mobile Mayhem?
My favorite moment. Oh, okay. There was a moment in Mobile Mayhem where we were playing Tribe, and we did not have a fifth player. This is more of a selfish favorite moment. I have a few others, but we didn't have a fifth player, so we had to play Search and Destroy 4 versus 5. And this is against the Tribe roster, including Bolu, Vague, Marshy, like the top dogs that are still the top dogs right now. Anyway, so we're playing 4v5. We're down a man the entire game, and we're keeping it close. And they're sweating their asses off, like they're trying so hard. The score was 4-5, and it's best of 6 rounds. And everyone on my team died, and I think one person got 1 kill. So it was me versus 4 dudes. And I have the clip, and I can pull it up, and if you want to insert it somewhere.
Yes, sir. Send it to me, and I'll just edit it in.
Okay. Anyway, so I 1v4'd them, and the casters were going nuts. But I 1v4 Tribe and tied it up 5-5. We ended up losing the game, so it didn't even matter.
We're gonna be putting that on Spec's refrigerator tonight. Like.
But
I think I remember
really
watching that too. That was insane. Everybody was going crazy, especially in chat. I remember that.
Yeah, that shit was really funny, especially because the last kill was Bolu, and Bolu's probably the one with the tallest ego.
Yeah, I've heard a lot about Bolu, and like I remember he made a video, and it was just like I don't know if it was him, but he said he was like somebody was talking trash, but in the video all you see is him talking trash, and nobody really said anything. So yeah, he definitely has a big ego, but. All right, so last question. If you could give any advice to any young kid trying to make it to Mobile Mayhem, what would it be?
I'd say definitely just put in the time. You know, it depends what kind of priorities you're trying to set. I would say be careful drawing the line between what's healthy and what's not healthy, and be real with yourself about it, because there's a line to cross, and it's really hard to take a step back. Because once you're there and you're invested in it and you've invested a lot in it, it's tough to take a step back. So just be careful where you step. But you know, if you're willing to put in the time and go for it, you know, and you have the time and you have the resources to do so, you know, I'd say go for it. But you know, as you obviously, quote unquote, grow up, it's important to really think about priorities in getting there. For Mobile Mayhem specifically, I would say just start small. Start with small teams. Start trying out for small teams. Just trying to get tons and tons of scrim. You're just trying to get as much practice as possible, basically. You know, even if it's not a great team, you start top fragging. Send those screenshots to a slightly better team. Get there. Start top fragging. Send those screenshots and just build your way up until you start getting noticed and until you get a tryout slot for a decent team.
Okay. All right. Zero has a question as well. He says, "Spec, did you have the biggest ego at the time?"
I'll phrase it this way. I'll say I have a massive ego, but I don't let it show. Like I have a big ego, but I definitely try to hide it. Like I definitely tame it down and don't do it. You know. And not in the sense that like I think I'm just better than everyone else, because I'm obviously not, but just in the sense that I'm prideful in the work that I put in to get where I'm at.
Yeah. I get that, because like every time we play CODM, somebody will ask me if I want to 1v1, and I'm not like I don't want to 1v1 people, but Sped's like, I'll 1v1 you. And he just destroys everybody, and then just kind of like, oh crap, you know, like they don't expect to be playing a pro. But all right, that's gonna be it for the podcast. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that. It was a short one. I didn't want it to be too long. Next week, I know my channel is known for Call of Duty controller or Call of Duty mobile controller players and all that. So next week, I'm gonna try to have Zero. If you don't know who Zero is, he's another competitive controller player. He's really good on controller. But we're gonna have him on next week, and if you guys enjoy the videos, we'll try to have more people on. I know a couple people, but yeah, thank you, Sped, for taking your time to do the podcast with me, brother.
Yeah, I got you.
All right, thanks for watching, guys.